What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with the ghost once again. With all the distractions that's out there right now, folks, you got to start paying attention to silver, gold, what's happening in the economy, the Federal Reserve. Trump is going to war with the Federal Reserve right now, and game on. Right now, silver's at, I think, almost 80. Could have passed 80 in the last few minutes, actually. But, Ghost, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, man, good to be here, and hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, you included, obviously. And I even saw a headline this morning that said that this may be the last good Christmas you have for a while.
I saw that.
I'm not trying to sow fear. I'm just going on. The only thing that I've been really looking at, relatively closely lately.
Well, Trump put out a last. This may be your last Merry Christmas to everyone who's on the Epstein list, which makes a lot of sense to me. But, folks, let me just get into this. All right, folks, pay attention. This is a total game changer. My good friend, award-winning medical journalist Jonathan Otto has been uncovering breakthrough healing technologies, and he says the med-bed future people have been waiting for is already here. It's called PEMF therapy, and these masks combine clinical-grade red light therapy, infrared, heat, and pulsed electromagnetic fields working together in harmony. They deliver 150 millitesla of clinical-strength magnetic fields, pulsing at 1 to 30 hertz, the same natural rhythm your body and brains operate in. That means they sync with your cells, recharging energy, boosting circulation, cutting inflammation, and helping your body heal itself. In breakthrough studies, people are seeing amazing results with the big C. You know what that is? Autoimmune challenges, brain and thyroid issues, chronic pain, insomnia, bone density, and even muscle loss. And the best part is they aren't luxury items anymore. They're now the most affordable prices ever. Over time, it becomes the lowest cost therapy you'll ever own because you can use it every single day. You don't have to go to clinics anymore or gyms and pay ridiculous amounts of money, like $80 to $100 a session. It's ridiculous. Go right now to mypmfmat.com and use the code Nino25 for 25% off an individual mat, or Nino30 for 30% off bundles. Financing and payment plans are available too, so you can bring this healing technology to your home today, folks. Get on it. All right, Ghost. So a lot to talk about here. Yeah, silver right now is at, I believe, 79, and I'm going to bring that up in just a second. It's just getting crazy, man. I don't even know, what to, Bo Pony's come on my show, 𝗀𝗂 come on my show and talked about this, and here it is. It's finally
Yeah, I mean,
there it is, 79.68, man. It's like, I mean, it's just like skyrocketing every hour.
I think it's going to hit 100 and could possibly go to 200. That's just me. I don't give the financial advice of any kind. I'm just saying that's what I'm curiously looking at to see how high it goes, because China's going to be cutting its exports of silver in 26 because it's a strategic metal among like a couple of kilograms are used in certain weapon systems, for example. And that just gets blown at smithereens. And it's in demand, number one. Number two, it's kind of if the conditions are right, you knew when they were raising at $10, yeah, they're gonna do a quick dump and do some profit taking. But that's not the case. I mean, and what people need to really, really look at is ask yourself, and we've all seen this for how many years, ask yourself why they didn't want Trump to be president the first time, why there was a 4-year gap, why they fought tooth and nail but got nowhere this time with all the nonsense. No one is that, let's say, that hated and so many, and spreading this TDS, which I think personally was a psyop, a very well done psyop, and to create these people, bring them out.
Who?
Now, the people with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. I'm building up to something here with all of this. And then there's always the stupid ass news items like Candace Owens, for example, talking all this crazy stuff. And, you know, even when Alex Jones says you've fallen off the, you're off the reservation, you better take a look. But you gotta ask yourself, you know, this
But I
one's
mean,
worth
can we
200
even trust?
million.
Can we trust anybody right now? Can we trust
I
Alex Jones?
would trust very few, to be honest with you, because but
I mean, it seems
think
like people
about
are
it.
either
It's
taking the
distraction.
side of Israel or you know, the TPUSA Israel side, or in my mind, you know, Candace Owens is like she's kind of drawing a line in the sand, and she's asking all the questions that I feel that 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃 should be asking. So I don't know. There's a divide now on the right.
And that divide, that's your enemy dividing you. Remember that. That is the enemy dividing them, pumping this stuff up. And she's asking some very important questions. Yeah, I'll give her that. But the whole splits and the fuss made over it, is that going to put food on your table? Is that going to pay your bills?
It's putting food on hers.
All on hers, yeah. She's already got 200 million. What more does she need? So you got to ask yourself: is this an ideological actor in all of this, and stirring the shit pot? Oh, excuse my language, the crap pot. Instead
but
of
is this distractions
actually
needed? Is this distractions
yeah.
needed to divide MAGA? And what are they hoping in doing so? What are they hoping for in doing so?
They're always hoping to take away the power of this administration and the president and everyone around him, and then other key players around the world. They're always trying. Again, it comes down to two sides, no matter what's going on in Africa or Venezuela or anywhere else. And yes, these are important issues. A lot of these things can be ginned up at times, because you've got to have something of focus, something of, okay, the rumor of war kind of thing, and the actions that are being taken in Venezuela. And it's all connected. It's all connected, yes, on many fronts. And the useful idiots and those whole situations are the troublemakers, are the radical Islamists, are the, let's say, the non-state actors from other countries that are trying to also gin that, let's say, these messes up. But everyone's focused everywhere else. But in the end, this time, what I'm saying and what's coming soon is really what everybody's been looking at and looking for. Okay, look at the Epstein list, wonderful. There's a lot of pigs on there who need to be arrested and go down. I have no doubt that will happen in time. I've had word that it's with some of the people that people don't know, it already has happened. So again, all of this, these are appearing to be all legitimate, serious concerns, but there's a lot more serious things going on. And the one thing that affects everyone, and this time it's not follow the money, it's about the money. It's all about the money. And I mean the global monetary system and money supply. I'll tell you what I see very shortly, I'll say it. What I see is a realignment of nations coming on, potentially, that's been kept quiet. Oh, we're supposed to be, yes, we are at a certain level in competition with other countries, always will be, until, the world becomes a different world. Who the heck knows when that's going to be, or whatever that is. But I think we're going to see some surprising realignments that'll negate the necessity for BRICS, but at the same time cut off final tentacles of what has always been affecting this country, and that is that central bank, the one that presidents 150 years ago warned about, even before that, warned about.
So we're cutting ties with the central bank. And that's Trump is.
I think ultimately that's what's in the cards.
So Trump, those come on my show many times and said that we're going to war. The Treasury's going to war with the Federal Reserve, and
right.
basically that's why they're erecting the fence around the gate, the fence around the treasury. It's symbolic. And as the price of silver shoots through the roof, Trump is going to try to bring back mining for silver here in America, make this country a much more prosperous nation. But we're going back to a silver gold based dollar. Is that true?
I think it's going to go further than that. I think crypto is going to have more to play in it than people are being. Even the pundits out there, I've been listening and reading a lot of what they've been saying, and I think that you have foundational underpinnings, data points that you look for. And what's adding up to me is that we're getting finally to that point to where that changing of the guard is going to happen. In essence, why do I say that? Look at the business the president's three sons are in. Look at what one of the owners of BlackRock, for example, look at what he's been doing. And I don't want to bring up any names or anything like that. I'm just saying, look at what he's been doing. Look at what others have been doing in the world of crypto. A lot of these currencies are going to fall away, or they may be national or regional, depending on where they're coming out of. But I believe a lot of them are going to just fall away, and you're going to see a couple of them remain. One potentially as a reserve currency, like the dollar is now, and that would be the obvious one that was set up, created DARPA, set up a long time ago, and monitored and tweaked the whole time. Bitcoin. Elon Musk has been heavy into Bitcoin lately. So when you watch what people are doing, not necessarily what they're saying, that's you're always, like 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶 always says, 𝗬𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, you'll know them by their deeds. And I think people need to really, really take a good look at their incomes and their liabilities, their expenses, their debt service, all of that, and get that down as much as possible to be safe. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm not a financial
shouldn't people be
advisor,
investing in silver and gold right now? Shouldn't they be buying hard metals? That's what everyone else is telling me.
I would be, and maybe even doing a little profit taking on the silver you have. For example, if say I sold 50 ounces right now compared to what it was had for, that was had $15. If you sold 50, you're looking at it basically $65 per coin. So that's $3,000. If people needed money and they've got that kind of silver, you can go to any pawn shop, anywhere that deals in metals. They will give you the spot price. Just make sure it'd be time.
That's never been my experience.
You leave your house.
Pawn shop.
Well, yeah, they do. They should be giving you. If not, just go to the people that do buy and sell locally, and they'll give you what the spot price value is, and you can turn that right around and buy more if you want. However, it's whatever people decide to do. I'm just giving a what if scenario, or a haven't had enough coffee yet scenario. But I think that's what the whole thing is about, because that shakes up everything. And what that shakes up mostly is, let's say, conglomerates' personal interests and self-interest of a lot of people who have their hands in on these markets. And there's just been so many small shifts in the background. You've got to keep your eyes on this thing, because I think this is what it's all about, to be honest with you. And these kinds of things do not get set up and done overnight. It's taken a long, long time. But for now, the risk of the opposition, and I'm telling you where this all leads up to, is the interests who own the central banking system. Ultimately, they're the ones behind any kind of grief we would suffer in this country if there were any kind of, let's say, terrorist cells activated. And I think that's why they've been concentrating on them. It had to be done. It should be done. And to minimize any type of external effect. But there's also not just ground level and what I would call primal effects, but you've got to be able to do it with the least amount of damage throughout the economy. And I know I'm covering it with a broad stroke here, but this is what I think. All of it's been nothing but noise to me, a lot of this stuff out there. Noise, noise, noise. And people get amped up emotionally. That's the desire for those kinds of things, is to amp people up, get an emotional reaction. Emotions should be the last thing you're basing things on when looking at stuff like this. It's very pragmatic, very practical, and very not so much what you would think logical, but depending on your, let's say, your knowledge level and skill level in those realms, you see this stuff and you see what's happening. I think this is what it's all about, and I think this is the year. We can't wait. There's 3 solid years left. You've got to do things.
Do you believe
now.
Do you believe that, you know, what we're looking at with 𝗬𝗓_USA, that I think they're going to be the battleground for 2028, and I think that's what their objective is. I believe it was completely hijacked, and I see people like other podcasters, I'm not going to name them right now, but jumping on board with 𝗬𝗓_USA because it's going to better benefit their business, their podcasting, and
Probably.
I think that it's happening right now, and anyone who goes against 𝗬𝗓_USA is not going to be the quote unquote real conservative movement. Do you see Trump's successor being J.D. Vance? Who do you think is going to fill the shoes of Trump?
Oh,
Could we
God.
see Trump as a 3rd term?
I think that's very possible if the shakeup is big enough and the shock is big
once
enough.
everything comes out with 2020,
yeah,
and everything comes out on that, I mean, could we see Trump a 3rd term?
yes, for
Steve
that
Bannon believes
reasons
it.
and many other.
Steve Bannon
Many
says it
others.
over and over.
What's that?
Steve Bannon is saying that over and over in all the interviews, that Trump is going to run a 3rd time and win it.
I think you could even go further than that, depending on how bad the situation gets and how much of a, let's say, restructuring is done. If a true restructuring is done, he then becomes the 17th president. All right? I went out on a limb and I said that.
So Trump will be the 17th president when this is all said and done.
He would be the first president post 14th Amendment that Lincoln,
so
I believe, was the 16th. So
what does that mean for 2028?
I'm just saying, it means that chances by then the meddling should be wrapped up, the meddling aspect of it. The reason they threw Tina Peters in jail, for example, because she and another, I believe, took a look through the back door, and it's much more. It's more to it than that. But basically, what did they do? That state came after her like a shark. You know, what a fat pig in the water. And I'm not calling her that. I'm just saying that analogy. She's a wonderful lady, and they look at what they've done to this because they wanted to hide those crimes so badly, and they did it because they could. And that's a real issue. For example, that has something real behind it. Anything that affects the voting, yes, it's got to be dealt with. And if a lot of things are dealt with correctly in a big enough upset,
so as people are
distracted at this
distracted,
point. So yeah, he could easily be run again if he's up to it and wants to do it. I don't know. Vance, I think, would be a name in the hat. I'm not one of those people who looks out that far or is talking to anybody about that 28 just yet.
I've had 𝗬𝗓_𝗏𝗏 on, and he said that big chance, you know, he's been right about a few of his predictions. his grandfather, great grandfather, was the first president of the Soviet Union, and his cousin started the KGB, and he gets briefed, and he said that Trump will be stepping down and JD Vance will be filling in the shoes before Trump's term is over. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't have anything in my world and in my notebook that says that is going to happen.
Okay.
But you never know. I wouldn't stake. I wouldn't bet on that.
Yeah, Juan doesn't either. He doesn't believe that's going to happen either. But
yeah, I wouldn't bet on that. I mean, that's fanciful, and that's, there's always a million possibilities you can present, but I just don't think there's any teeth to that, to be honest with you. He's going to start he's going to finish what he started. And he's going to do what he said.
So the most important thing here goes, from what I'm taking away from this, is that we're going to go back to an honest election system, voting system, number one. Number two, we're going back to honest money. And number three, Trump will be the 17th president of the republic, correct?
That's a possibility. The first two, yes. The third is a very strong possibility. If they really want to get serious about what they're doing in DC and get rid of this, the swamp was much deeper and muckier than anybody, I think, was factoring. I think some thought it would be a little easier in certain areas. And I don't even want to go into those areas, but certain areas. And it just took more because the pushback was always there. But you saw the intentions that those who knew what they were talking about relatively play out the way they did. Because at one time, yes, and it still is on the table that these idiots could light up a lot of trouble in this country to fight back against this very thing. But you got to get a lot of pieces moved into place first before you make that last big move. It is the money. It is entire monetary systems, a tectonic shift in all of that. And I see a realignment of certain nations, the U.S. with them and them with the U.S. He said, we're going to get into crypto. We're going to lead the way a couple of years back. What was his speech about when he gave it right before the holiday season? Hammered on the economy, and he didn't ad lib very much at all because he wanted those points to get across. See, these things, they've all been turned around. They may not be where we want them, but they've all been at least turned around, all those categories. And those categories he was showing, most of them mean something. Whereas when you see these doctored polls on a question that's even rephrased, you're getting bogus results because you have garbage in, garbage out. But what he's saying and he's giving you is exactly what is coming down the road. And I don't think this country is ready to give up American primacy because of a bunch of bad little non-state actors in this country running around all the way down to the street level being encouraged by, let's say, a certain domestic agency, as it has been in the past. So I think we're going into it.
We're going into it. Can you explain to my audience what do you mean we're going into it? I mean, we all feel like 2026 is going to be the year.
Yeah, it's going to be the year that's the
year of action.
Year of action when it comes to monetary. A year of, let's say, major moves. Might not be completed in the year 26, but it sure as heck will have begun. And it's going to begin, I think, very shortly. You're looking at it right now with silver. He made that speech right before the holidays talking about the economy. Everything depends on the stability of currency. If you have a destabilization and all of that, then you're going to have a lot of turmoil, both economically and probably kinetically. And as far as war, it's easier to kick off a war that way. Look at World War II. Look at the American people were positioned before they went into it. Depression.
It looks like he's going to end the Russian-Ukraine war, right?
I think all that's coming to an end. I think it served its purpose. And you have a lot of people out there who are nuts about supporting Ukraine or, support. I kept trying to tell people this is a long-term strategic move. That place had to be cleaned out, like Panama was years ago, and not too many years ago. A lot of things had to be cleaned out. And I think we're minimizing the effects here by what's happening in Africa and to an extent in Venezuela. And they know we're serious. They look at those hits over the people that are most persecuted around the world, and nobody ever puts it at the forefront, are Christians, hands down. And somebody's finally pointing that out and doing something. And that's going to become more
well,
prevalent.
Let's not forget there's a lot of minerals in Africa too, Ghost.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. But it's basically scratching each other's back. You want these people out of your country because of what they represent to you. Some of these countries are run by basically Islamist gangs, not any semblance of even what you'd call a government. But then you have others that are trying to get their act together and they need help. And we shouldn't go in there like confessions of an economic hitman type stuff. We should be going in there with the idea that they benefit also. Then you have a partner, instead of taking their subcontracting, rebuilding of their infrastructure and hooking them on the end with a huge loan that they can basically never repay unless they give up their entire booty in their land. That's not the way to do it. I don't think that's the way to do it in the future. And I don't think that's the way this president and this administration wants to do it. You have to have a win-win and another win. And that's what makes things go forward. That's what makes these nations that we're in helping out prosperous, from Nigeria, Uganda, there's a number of others. But you help them, there's a lot to be gained from it on both sides. And that's the way it should be done. And that's the way I see it being done. And that's
so what, if you could tell my audience the 3 things to pay attention to in 2026, what would they be? Because everyone's going to be distracted with the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk stuff. And I report on that.
Forget all that stuff. If you're gonna sit there and argue about that, you're not worried about what's going to happen to you, because none of that. Yeah, it could be a political force. That remains to be seen. But to argue over this stuff and and what she's wearing, or all this kind of nonsense, why don't you just peel off and create the Jerry Springer party? Or the freaky talk show party. That's what I'm looking at with all this stuff. It's noise. Grow up. Get away from that nonsense. They're using influencers out there to do these kinds of things. And they think they're working for the right team. Sometimes they are. Most of the time they're not. And it comes cloaked as something in the flag. It comes cloaked as something in one way or another. But it's not. It's not what you're really dealing with. And you and a few others keep it open. But I think people need to. You got to be serious about this stuff. Money number. Watch what's happening with metals. Watch what's happening with crypto.
So what would be the advice you give my audience for money? Let's say they're scared to death. They're going to lose their money in the bank. Do you tell them start putting it into silver, start putting it into gold?
I would say start putting it into whatever makes you feel comfortable, whatever you've researched and whatever you have.
I know you're not a financial advisor, but
yeah. I would say precious metals myself and certain cryptos, only about less than a handful. Less than a handful.
Fair enough. Do you want to go back to
It's
the
you
back
can
channel and discuss the
sure,
minutia behind Trump becoming the 17th president?
sure.
All right. We'll
That's
see you at
a
Nino's
long
Corner.tv, folks. It's still 50% off all annuals right now. See you there. Thank you. Thank you, Ghost.
You got it.